Thank you, Khenpo Sodargye, for those words. Just as a reminder for our questions, if I can ask you not to pass around the mic, but to line up behind the microphone, which is in the center aisle here. And I would ask you to keep your questions succinct, if possible, and direct. And if you wouldn't mind, please introduce yourself before asking your question. So I invite you to come form a line behind the microphone in the center aisle. Thank you.
I'm from Boston University, and I will be an adjunct professor at the State University of New York. I think my question is, what is the difference between the meditation in Tibetan tradition and the meditation in Zen tradition?
Gum jirgido tani ngotsu hoirna shanchip ko sim gum gyang yonare devjin da nyarjib gum gyang yonare devjin da ta yindang ga chekin sowi chota hoirna martagwa gum zikidana devjin da na tangsan na ta namjirwa yoga ta gum zikib gum gite tari namba mons gonje tip gum gyu na namto gum gyang yonare namto mayamba gum gyang yonare tene sim nyambri jogzekida ta tarisha na rezere gomtavr namba rgogr tokne na sim tsichchig da tega nyamjigzedi tar namba kanda yanar naftok tamchit chop chapagam gunun shi kiryongdana ta tari tsichchig den jogyore kantar yang nika de yang gomgo konsuk to yona chokoyore.
Meditation should be motivated by the bodhicitta, which is the awakened mind, by compassion, by the thought of impermanence, and also can involve many different methods or yogas. And so these yogas can be engaged with conceptual mind or without conceptual mind, or we can simply think of meditation as being the process of pacifying the mind through the 9 modes of placement, so that all thought proliferations are brought to a standstill, and one can single-pointedly rest in mind's nature. So it seems that in both cases, all of these different techniques are emphasized.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My first question is, I heard about meditation can be do in anywhere, anytime, but the fact is sometimes when we want to do the meditation, but the environment is too crowded. People are saying, they are talking, they are playing, so it may be hurt, maybe disturb our mind. So what should we do in that environment? And then the second question is, because if we are at home, masters won't be just stay with us. So what should we do if we are alone? We are just at home. The masters is at other place. The third question is, how long should we do the meditation every day? Thank you.
Oya, tenangi nikal hanjigdo chochi chabat somangi taril hanjigda arjo. Tene hanjigda langshig nang jamna ngatsu jindeng gun so ga chok shawa kangda kang jamna rang semla sta jiwndo tene gum tamchik na gum tartik bare. Tene jindeng rangi semla rang sta jiwndo tar nam tok jene nan jaga sim digne nan jaga shawa kang shena ya jind nge shawa chipshe ka nge chusam ga ko nimu jind ga sam ji zina rang tene 지금 gum ga nyam da na timo tham chit ngar mi yara tarim jong je ta gum ju ti chun zhen jang na te khso de ji ngamo da shi zhou de jin de na ji ning gong rab na ji nyang chi ga ta ri ji thân khsum da thân chik timo gum gong je gar te te ta ma do ji na rang ga ta ji ma ji ba zam zik de rang ti su ta te ne de gum gong je shi chu ge na gum ji de ji le la bo ji ni ma chi da ni zam zik yeng go na ma re 회나가 저게 워여네 있네나 지금 정내 코나 곰기 원대요는 지금 로스음다 자왁음다는 적섬 디모이 처럼디 지금 다 름바 땅보고 정내 다리가 잠석들 기다 깨기는 디모이 오고.
I'll just answer all your questions at once.
Thank you.
So the main point is all of us have to learn to just simply watch our own mind, to look into your own mind. In all the situations, like you mentioned, in a busy situation, home alone situation, whatever the case may be, you watch your own mind, you look into that. What am I thinking now? Why is this disturbing me? What should I be doing? Why am I confused about that? You look into your own mind with mindfulness and remembering the teachings that you've received, and you try to apply and be aware of what's going on, so that you're not just oblivious to things, but that you are aware, so that you can begin to be a meditator who does contemplative awareness practice. And in terms of how long or when you're going to do that, well, ideally, one should do some practice in the morning, some practice in the evening. Or traditionally, it's said 3 times a day in 3 sessions or 6 sessions, whatever the case may be. It seems important not to forget to at least do this at some point, so that it's not something that you just completely forget about. And then you build from there. And because this is not necessarily easy. And so we have to create the habit. There are many who say that shamatha meditation can be accomplished after 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of meditative retreat. Well, it's kind of hard to define it into those time frames when each individual is actually different. But you do your best to introspect and be mindful of your own mental process. And that would constitute being the practice of contemplative awareness.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
So when I try meditation, I might sometimes fall asleep, or sometimes when I get distracted, I can't stop counting my heartbeat or my breath. Is there any ways you can suggest anything I can do to improve it? And second question is just of my curiosity, because now we're talking about meditation, about concentrate on what you do. But sometimes when we do study or when we work, we actually try and do several things spontaneously. So can you give us some suggestions, compare with that? What is the benefit of focus completely on one thing when you're doing it? Thanks.
롭지 냠름시 지롱데 드네 따따 셈 파체와 지 랑아 랑왕즈 토요지 요지라고 선진가 이치요 이나야 곰땅 간달고 때랑에 다리 하나 다리 샷차르네 데 막도가 샷죠 잠밤에 여번도 여하스 고마송 다 샤치고 접티다가 소 잠판다 저베다 다가 랑돈 시급 좀 지롱나 드네 야지라고 다 디모즈 역사로 고음도
Ken Rinpoche wasn't exactly clear as to what the main point of the question is, but he would just encourage you to focus more on benefiting others and less on what's going on with yourself, and then just benefiting others and try to practice that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Rinpoche kadinche ngami treasurinche lagiyo New York ni New York New Jersey puri tsame kuzab shuje chil toji shuda ani tiwala sems ya de condition ngo sungure de condition ai pendishana atisha lobe atisha ge krang lojon na lo sem de la ani thama 중공 요마레스 데스 티도 아니 샘세 먼저 지막하야 메워체 라바차야 메워체 그냥 초도 초야도 the same thing what currents in English. Brief question: what is the nature? What is the source of our mind? Where does it come from? We cannot see it. We cannot taste it. but it's there. We feel it. Thank you.
다 심 제한들이 긴더 릭베 딱상 샤지 잔지나 간 요는 말에 레타 마트 막셰팔라 요레스 대전 쇼빔 도르디거 갑나야 셈라 셈맘치 바 셈기랑신 옥사와 옥송제 대내나 다리가 셈라 셈맘치 베세지 셈공 오르동아 송제다는 셈기랑신 옥사라세 긴데 랑신 송제 터레 대나 또 셈더 돈 담발아 다리 계와다 엄정아 내봐야 요 말다 그건 숲터 르르 사르르 르르 다리 터터고 옥사라다도 요너레 대내나 더 다지 라미 망가 때 있다는 그 런거 냠슬랑에다 그 샘기 ngôn 막도 되면은 런커거 단디 먹을지 롭마 먹어서 그 초거지 샘기 람진들이 제이다리 타커 건설톤 시르고나요 지 하장 가본지 인제 건 따리야나 티토다다리 로존 시교다 하장 거치 모레.
Yes, if you were to analyze to find where the mind is, it cannot be found. But without analyzing, it seems to be there. And so it is as the sutras tell us, the sutras of the Tathagata, where it states that the nature of the mind is luminosity, is clear light. And so given that the mind is empty by virtue of its essence, its nature is that it abides as luminous cognizance. And so from an ultimate or absolute point of view, the mind was never born and the mind never ceases. But from a relative point of view, there is still something that we have to deal with. And this we know. We know there is, and that's why we're here. And so in order to know exactly how to approach this, one has to receive the pointing out instructions from a spiritual master who is qualified to give them. And then you can learn as a disciple how to identify the mind's nature, and then you will rest in the nature of the mind. And if you try to do this by yourself, it's very difficult. So that's why it's important to go through this process.
Good afternoon, dear Khenpo. I'm a student from Columbia University. I began to get involved in believing Buddhism since I was 7 years old. And I've been haunted by a question that through meditation or study of Buddhism, how can we know that exactly how much power we could have to help others so that we will not get frustrated when we help other people or we get depressed when we can't reach our goal? Thanks.
출란 호흡니 출란 덕분 니가 tellat니 jana 판간이 딱거래 니간게 jan jampen기 샤와 룹디 감라트니 간게 다시 좀 맡아봤더니 디와 그 직처정도 센터도 등원도 된데 강간도 된데 매진도 된데 저는 간데 진심은 모두 좋다.
다 잠pen거 삼바 하정 야치오스 요티데 tene jampan jubi kurum ku chot rangla kala kansam ga kangar dana tene chi ta katsak kawle mons gam chakand gna re tana inna te tak so tham chit chi ta khwa dare tin garchin da tan yo yon mare khorna chongba z gna na chong chimbo z da ko ne na ta ti chet chi katsak kawle nyongshi z dari jak gona yon dari khute chi semcher dana timo yokon mare 대인디 수 정근고가 양나 지금 잠판급 삼바테 야라 풀드 심바다 첫 통보스가 랩지도 가르쳐와래 가르테 딥삼바다 텐자서 클레비요티 드네 지금 샤와 강당 좀 나라 회나 지금 니카 그 감치 지금 뭐 잠 그런 데브나라 티모 요네나 자가 강라요나 다리가 곤잼 탑그 말에 인잼 말에 가르테 다리가 잠판급 삼바다 예 치워서 메티 강을 총총스 그냥나 지금 다리가 대랑아 욕잡 종에다나 그 샤워 접고요 말에.
Yes, the thought to be of benefit to others needs to be cultivated in a vast way. And when this becomes something that is accomplished, it means that one is able to tirelessly engage in that kind of activity. It's not an effort, it's a joy. And so that is not going to be obstructed by anything. It will be, in a way, from an ordinary point of view, if someone wants their business to be successful, they'll just go to any effort it takes, day and night, to work hard to accomplish that goal. They're not going to get tired, right? And so all the more so, because the thought to benefit others is so much more sublime than any ordinary selfish pursuit, then whatever it takes, one is not going to find any difficulty. One is going to be able to just work in order to benefit others, and the rewards will be there.
Thanks. Dear Khenpo, it's such a great honor to have you here to give us such a wonderful speech. My name is Jie, and my question is, as a college student, we have a really busy schedule. So do you have any suggestions for our college student how to balance our time to practice Buddhism and also study? Thank you.
다 롭자가 는거 조 로종 시기도 가르친 보래. 때는 로종 시기 저르드 냠는 가나 강성 시나요. 회나 다리 난디 나모야라 잖아랑지다 납디 마라 냐교 때요나 같이 시세세 이네요. 아주 뒤축적인 게도 살아다리 런거 탑스를 넘바 나서 없더니 나는 그거 살아요. 그거 외시시 다리 총제 근데 조 셈라로 오늘 존지당 담발라 다리가 그거 냠린 나다 로종 나다 강양 다리가 고르고 쇼르고 말에 녜때는 조 셈식다는 조 존지요니나 다때 판천 다리가 가르와다나 대비전다나 지가 접기 말에 삼고.
So as a student in college, of course, the most important thing is your studies at this time. You have to emphasize that in order to be successful, right? And so that's going on. But along with that, in order to continue with a spiritual practice, such as meditation, then you just have to get up earlier or go to bed later in terms of carving out the time to practically be able to sit and do that too. So you've got both of those things going on. But not to forget that both of these are going on with one mind. Mainly it's your mind, which is ongoing. And so if you are being diligent in your studies, that's a form of meditative concentration, right? That's a form of meditating, by focusing in that way. And so by having a focused study that is able to produce knowledge and accomplish its goal through mental strength, through exertion, this is also meditation practice. So in a way, you're combining them too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Dear Khenpo, thank you for coming. My name is Jeannie, and I'm also from Columbia University. And I have a question that we all know that in the Western world, traditionally the Christianity is the dominant religion. And I actually know some Dharma teachers, they actually don't promote Buddhism as a religion. So I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on how to engaging Western people to see Dharma as a religion or just a worldly Dharma, maybe just balance or improving their life, or maybe as a philosophy. Thank you.
Ari langpa halam yeshu re diorwa, ini kashe nangpa gi chuluk re, teni kashe nangpa gi chuluk mare, sem gi lopchong chesa. Teni Khenpo kare gongi do, nangpa gi chuluk gi di choksu gyurpare yana shen kare sam gi yore.
다 ngain ataga ngama kyabjin jingmen punso zo ngchegi loglang de ris ma chi pa ga dari ga jamta ga jong re de ne na chi yin ji nga nang ba ga re ta ngi lojong she sa da de ne yeshir yang yo na re dari yishi chulig yang yo na re ta ma yen ba da dari zamolong ga ta ga chulig ram ra yang lojong she kon re chulig ram ma yen ba ga yang na de ne ta ji char ga laksar da na nimo cho tam chi da nyam ji 어럭도 있다는 그 로종 쉐콘제 대나 닝원이나 아주 그 출근 대소 탐지경 가르와메 빠다나 안로와메 따리 개편요 봐. 다 디모즈레 삼고요. 대인데 좀때 지 긍긍 오게 있나 다리가 랑때 있나 랑가 출력다는 점탑 열고 말이다. 있나요? 지금 참마대 로종시기단 참마대 당랑시단 로아메 징저거 냠다 판밥접 기원도 르니 조진저종시기단 어잔다 판밥접 기원도 가서 대랑아수 뭐 탐색금 장나요 비다리 샤와즈레 삼고요.
My master, His Holiness Khenpo Jigpun, he always taught that Buddhism was a tradition that was unbiased, and that meant that it was all-inclusive and able to embrace the beliefs of any human being as long as they were positive and beneficial. And so, based on that premise, then also we can say that a good Buddhist would be inspired to learn the views of other world religions so as to be knowledgeable and well-informed. There's this openness to knowledge and to finding that which is concurrent and harmonious, and so that people can meet one another on the same level with a genuine human embrace. And so, at the same time, that doesn't mean that you would lose your own focus as a Buddhist, that primarily, if you are a Buddhist practitioner, you are studying your own tradition, those philosophies, engaging in those practices. Those things don't have to change. But you don't find other religions to be contradictory to that, because you're learning the essence of their goodness, and you can be open to them, well-informed, knowledgeable, and in this way you can communicate with all human beings, not just only those who believe exactly like you.
Good afternoon, dear Khenpo. I just have a very quick question. I know in Buddhism, like we take refuges to Buddha, to Sangha, to Dharma, and we know, especially in Tibetan Buddhism, like our teacher is very important. We should respect our teachers. But I just wonder, what happened if we saw Sangha did wrong, or we heard people like talk about our teacher, like say if he did something wrong, like what's the best way to deal with those situations?
뭐랑 얘기인가 출국 상만을 리미 라마 상만을 때 답한 적을 세긴도 잠바치 그때 뭐랑 얘기가 그러다 때인데 제기는 간대진 때 직접으로 온라인도 제거했어.
딱조 닐릭 슬라요나 때다리 조 시르고 지레 삼가. 더인네나 다리 지금 잠바수 그런데 빠다나 잠바수 도르게 모요인데다 대조 스차치가 말이야. 조 아주 장랑 거 탐치다 판바 톱기다는 런거 세마 판바 톱기 데스타비 닐릭 요노 티츠드 지르타진다 다리 럭터시기다 런거 냠슬랭기 오때 같이 그래. 잠바 젠즈 집도시나 대 지금 케피다리 레가즈 말해.
You basically de-emphasize that kind of talk. You just keep focusing on what is true and right, what is the fundamental truth. And that has to do with how you can benefit beings in the world, how you can benefit your own mind, and this whole process that you're engaged in having a teacher and following the path. So it's no longer important to, even have to consider what those things are that are being said. Just let it be and keep on your direction.
And thank you so much for your speech, Master. And I'm current Yale student, and my question will be very straightforward: is how to deal with remorse. Thank you. How to deal with remorse.
조슴 나 이렇게 간대진 시작한다고 제가 그래서 조슴 제때 간대지 조슴 제그래서 조슴 시작하고 시작선.
단 요즘즈 기다란 거 나르시가 다리 드와 탐쳤다. 제르고난 자가 샤말락 바초 회나 뜨그즈근 통에다 더가 뜨근 통에다는 런거 리보 나르치 그지송는 있나 다 남지가 내끝나 때 뜨긴 보고 저도 신초근들 따위 뜨든 통문인 거 마토 제면 런거 리라 나즈 삼기메 케바르테리 용거 삼에 신초다리 인디 뜨든 만동 삼기고 띠르따위 삼비냐한 요슴 제너레 대인나 다리가 드가 시작나라나 띠르따위 요슴즈디 요트니나 드가 ndaqbrxonje.
The way to deal with remorse is that you really feel this in the core of your being to the point where you're not going to repeat whatever that was, again, that has caused you this remorse, as though you had partaken of poison, but you were lucky enough to not die. Are you going to do that again? No, you know how sick that made you. And so you have learned your lesson, as it were. So you have to just keep that kind of commitment. That's called true remorse, where basically you give up that direction and it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for bringing the blessings to all of us. And my name's Kelly. I'm recently graduated from Yale. Now I'm working in the World Bank in DC. So my question is that sometimes from being a student to working as a young professionals, we always get lost sometimes, and we cannot find it, even though we walk, but we couldn't find a work that we're really passionate about. And so we try to work harder and to find what is really interests us. But sometimes we always get lost, and we could not feel that's the right one for us. So for this case, would you give us some suggestions how we deal with when we get lost, and should we continue or just give up until wait the right time comes, then everything will be fine? Thanks.
다 대 잠복는 거 롭자 강당 강이나 롭자 돈 차르니 되니 그 레가 자주온다 하정 같이 쉬는 거 그러나 아메리카나이나 저 리자크 잔다 소 드르니나 네 상록동나 텐자다리가 적슈레 제타나 레가 자주오는 거 땅보 공거는 지 고르모 하정 몽오즈단 톰보 되니 어머기를 챙겨 그냥 그만도 어머기를 총산에 쏠는 시기잔지나 되니 름지 되니 다리 ರಂ금 덜럼도 흑사용 거래 막 또제마 당상 존도 소참하고 당보님네 롭자는 거 돈되는 되니 다와레 리전도 고르모다리 베 동청 몽보다는 되니 지 고네양 돈보 럭스리양나 지 타크르 외슈 촉사다 디모이나 레키다리가 고네 대한 자조르가 모인너리 되난 잠몰는 거뭐 하장 적친 뭐 조용의 당보 곰바 름지 소용으로 다 데스터 쉬지 있나 그 싫던 거 레가다리 자주 강을 요요인데다 요나양 지 그 름지 런거 다리 임달람도 익사로 지르 삼가.
Yes, concerning this point, I think it's most excellent to have graduated from these fine colleges and institutions. And going ahead and getting your vocation and pursuing your career is crucial. And that's exactly the direction you should be taking. But it seems that sometimes here in America, it might be that, and in other countries too, the young student who's a fresh graduate who's looking for employment has too lofty of a goal to try to get a very high position just right from the get-go. And so I think you should lower that expectation and start at a more reasonable place, and then gradually build upon that and approach more slowly and carefully without becoming too overly excited or perhaps unrealistic about jumping too high initially before it's time.
Thank you very much.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time. So on behalf of Yale University, of the Yale Chaplain's Office and the Department of Religious Studies, I would like to sincerely thank Khenpo Sodargye for his very fine words, his lecture and advice to us all. I'd also like to thank our translators for helping out as well, and I hope that in the future we may have a connection to meet again, to have you to meet our community once again. So thank you very much.